I bought Monster Tree Service a year ago, but I was their general manager for 6 years prior to that. Prior to that, I worked in banking and in the Army until I kind of settled in here. And
Yeah.
I like it.
Hello again, welcome to Connections. This is our video series where we introduce you to friends of ours that we think you'd like to have be friends of yours. My name's Glenn Gould, and I have with us today one of my very good friends, James Whitlock with Monster Tree Service. James, of course I know you,
Yes.
but they don't know you, so why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and tell them a little bit about you and your company.
Okay, James Whitlock. I am from Noonan, Georgia, from here. Grew up actually right around the corner from where we're at right now. I bought Monster Tree Service a year ago, but I was their general manager for 6 years prior to that. Prior to that, I worked in banking and in the Army until I kind of settled in here. And
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
So one of the great things about this time of year is the timing to have somebody like James be on our Connections video, because right now, if I understand correctly, is one of the two best times of year, maybe the best time, you can share that, to do maintenance on things like trees and things like that. You know, if you're a homeowner, you really have a lot to be concerned about with trees, from safety to health and all of those things. Explain a little bit about what goes into tree service, because you know most of us see these big trucks, and you've certainly got them.
Yeah.
These big trucks that pull up, and you know they're grinding up tree stumps and things and limbs and things. But what's really going on there?
So I mean, you're just seeing just the end result when you see the big trucks come in. We go out and we assess trees. So we look at them. We don't necessarily want to take one down. Sometimes they need to come down, whether the customer wants it, whether it's dead, whether it poses a threat or a risk. Sometimes we can just prune it. Sometimes we can treat it like we're going to do today, and hopefully bring that tree back. So there's a lot that goes into assessing the risks and the health of trees.
Yeah, you mentioned treating one with this bad boy right here. We're going to talk about it near the end, about how we're going to try to nourish it back to health a little bit. But one of the things that I never knew, and maybe it would be interesting to know, is that most of us think when you fertilize a plant, you put down granular or liquid on the surface, and it works its way down to the roots and all of that. We're going to do a little something different here today.
We're going to do a little something different. I have a high pressure pump, and so it's got a probe that I'll stick several inches down into the ground, and it squirts it in multiple directions, and I'll go throughout the yard here and back up here to get into that critical root mass where it needs to get it. During the summer, these trees get really stressed out. We had a pretty good drought this year. We had a really early onset summer, so it got really warm really fast for a long time. These trees get stressed. You'll see early leaf drop. So some of the leaves will start kind of curling up early, and you're like, hey, it's still September. We shouldn't really be in full fall yet. It's still pretty warm. But these trees are kind of stressing. And once they drop their leaves, the sap goes down back into the roots, and they kind of recover. In the wintertime, the soil really doesn't dry out here. It doesn't get above 70 degrees, it stays wet, and this is the tree's recovery period. So if we aid these trees with some artificial nourishment, it helps it build back good, so when they green up in the spring, they're really happy.
Yeah.
And kind of gets them back in the right spot of health.
Sure. So let's talk just a little bit about you, because I find your story fascinating.
Okay.
And I think our audience will too. Where we are right now, we're in just outside of downtown Noonan, Georgia. And if you were able to look across the way over here, past this row of houses on the other side of the street is an elementary school, Elm Street Elementary, and that's where you went to school.
That's where
you grew up just around the corner here.
Just around the corner.
Tell us a little bit about your early life in Noonan, Georgia.
I loved it. My grandfather was a prison warden here for 44 years.
Where's the prison?
The prison is over off of Hospital Road.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
But he was the warden at the old one, which was right on the Carrollton Highway spot before they moved it. So I remember both of them as a kid. They built that one when I was young. So I used to ride around with him, my dad, and had a lot of friends, that grew up here. Noonan in the 80s, and especially early 80s, it was a different place than it is now. It's much smaller. And so I enjoyed it, and just you felt like you knew everybody. We'd ride our bikes to downtown Noonan when Lee King was still there, and all kind of stuff. It was good. I still love downtown.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to be able to ride our bikes down there from here as a kid.
Yeah,
and
so
it was fun.
a lot of people probably don't know that we'll see this, but Alan Jackson, famous country music star, I think Country Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
is from Noonan, and he actually wrote a song about Noonan and about the square and about the little man and businesses. I guess when you were growing up, that was the life.
He sang in the choir with my mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at First Baptist.
Yeah, that's funny.
His mom was actually the lunchroom lady at that elementary school right there.
Wow.
So when I was a kid, she was still working there.
That's funny. It's a small world when you think about it. So you grew up here, but then I understand you moved away for a little bit of time?
Yeah, my dad's company transferred him out to Texas, in between Dallas and Fort Worth, and we lived in Bedford, not really far from where you lived
Irving,
out there. Yep. And then we moved back to Rome, Georgia, and then came right back to Noonan when I was a freshman in high school.
And so you went to Noonan High, I presume,
Noonan
graduated
High.
from
Yep,
there?
graduated
And
from
then
there.
I understand you went into the service
I went into
at
the
some
Army.
point in time. Thank you for your service.
I appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit about that experience. I know you're a combat veteran.
I am. I got medically retired in 2011, and so I was stationed at Fort Hood in Texas and then Fort Carson in Colorado, where I finished up. It was good. I enjoyed my time, and spent 18 months in Iraq on my first deployment, and had a good time.
Yeah. Now your name, your last name Whitlock, it's kind of well known in Coweta.
Yeah.
I know that if you've seen one of our videos, Mark Whitlock, I think is your uncle?
Cousin.
Cousin, I'm sorry. From the Central
CC.
Educational Center, and then of course our airport is named
After my brother.
after your brother. And tell us just a little bit about that.
Right after I got medically retired out of the Army, I moved back here and was going back to college. My brother was a pilot in the Air Force, and he was killed in action February 18th, 2012. And they named the airport after him. We both got our private pilot's license before we went in the military. My eyes were not great for military flying, and his were.
Now, do you still fly?
Not much.
Yeah.
No.
It's expensive.
It is expensive.
And who owns a small business can afford something like
no.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, obviously, a wonderful tribute to someone who served his country, and obviously a loss for you and your family. But
Yes.
thank you and your brother and your family for the sacrifice. Tell us a little bit about Noonan now. You stayed here. Why? I mean, what is the appeal to stay in Noonan, Georgia?
Man, I think it's the people, family and people. I have a lot of family, a lot of history here. I know so many people that I grew up with that are still around. Either you're just family friends or just people I've known, people I get to know now.
Yeah.
I've lived all over the country, and I just always had to come back here.
Right.
I just love it.
Yeah, so the way we got to know James is my sons bought this house behind us, and when we moved in, it had not been cared for very much at all. And so we had James in Monster in to do some severe pruning in the backyard and a little bit of pruning out here. One of the things that I found really interesting was what you told me there's probably a centuries-old pecan tree at the end of the driveway here. Mm-hmm. And when we moved in a year ago, there was no fruit from it, no nuts, no pecans. And you did a little work on that one, and man, it is producing like crazy this year.
It does. I like the old pecans. Most of going off of downtown Noonan in the earlier days of the city were orchards going off, pecan orchards. There were peaches. There was, everything. So you still see pre-Civil War aged pecan trees around that have survived, and it's pretty neat. And you can, if they're not fertilized, they're not going to really produce.
Yeah. Well, how long does a pecan tree live? As long as it does, I guess.
Years. Yeah, a few hundred years.
Wow, that's amazing.
It can spend 100 years growing, 100 years surviving, and then 100 years dying. It's kind of the things that I've heard about them, but yeah, I hadn't. Now, I'm not that old.
You mentioned that your folks, or your dad, still lives here.
Yeah, my folks do.
Okay, your folks still live here, just a couple miles from here.
Yep.
And you have your family, your
Oh yeah, I got
Tell
four
us a little bit about 4 kids.
I have 4 kids, and so I have 2 girls, 2 boys. The oldest works in banking right now. The next one, she works at the emergency room part time and is still at Georgia State. Will be graduating there next year. And then I got a son who just graduated from Noonan, and he is looking to go into the Air Force here pretty soon.
Okay.
Then the baby is 4.
Oh my goodness!
And so
that's quite a spread there.
It's quite a spread. He's up at the preschool right now at First Baptist, and he enjoys it, and he's big time.
All right, so if you had to pick a favorite restaurant in Noonan or the general area,
Oh man,
I mean,
there's a lot
with
of
4
them.
kids, I guess you don't eat out a whole
I
lot.
try not to, not with all of them anyway.
That's
Do
right.
Date night with the wife. I like Knife and Stone a lot. I like Meet and Greet a lot. Both of them are fantastic restaurants. In the downtown square, Dunk's Barbecue is always a favorite of mine for lunchtime.
Sure.
And Sprayberry's as well. My dad actually worked at Sprayberry's. My grandfather did as well.
Really?
Parking cars back during the Depression.
So I'll tell you, and I'll make it really quick. I won't tell the whole story, but when I was an assistant golf pro out in Dallas at Las Colinas Country Club, we had a guy come to work for us. His name was Joey Sprayberry, and all he could talk about was the barbecue restaurant his family owned in Noonan.
Yep.
And as it turns out, he wasn't quite as close to the family as I thought he was. But I mean, he's part of the family. I mean, he was like a cousin or something like that. But very proud of the tradition of Sprayberry's, and it's been here
They're
since
a great
the 20s.
family. I know most of them really well, and grew up knowing them. They're fantastic people.
And that's one of the great things about living in a small town that has some history, is that you've got families that have been here a long time, and they kind of know the history, and they can carry on the history and kind of protect it. That's one of the most interesting things about this part of Midwest Georgia is, especially in Noonan. I don't know about the general area around it anymore, but in Noonan Center, they've done a really good job of maintaining the history and not letting growth kind of really take over.
They do. They have a really great historical society and museum downtown. My great aunt used to give talks weekly on different families from this area, and it was pretty neat before she passed.
Yeah. Were you the one who told me that the original Powell still lives on this street? Somebody, I've forgotten who it was, but this is Powell Place, and apparently one of the Powells still lives on this street.
Don't doubt it. Don't doubt
Just
it at all.
unusual. All right, so getting back to the tree, because I want to talk about how we're going to take care of this one. But before I do, tell the folks a little bit about some of the things they should be thinking about right now, because now is the perfect time to do some of the maintenance and some of the protection of the trees that we all enjoy so much.
Right. So right now, fall, once the leaves start dropping, is when we start looking at trying to prune trees. We like to prune them through the fall and the winter. We can take more off the tree and not stress it at that time. So if you're looking to take more and really take back that tree away from the house, away from the driveway, away from different whatever that you want to take it from, now is the best time for that, because that sap is starting to go down. It's also the best time for what we're about to do, is fall fertilization. I talked a little bit earlier about the trees recovering throughout the winter, and this treatment is a 6-month treatment, and it will, throughout the fall and winter, really rejuvenate and give this tree a lot. So when it greens up in the spring, it's able to maximize the photosynthesis that it's able to create, and the energy and the growth and the health of the tree.
So if somebody were to want to schedule something like that, what's the best way to do that?
They can call the office, and Michelle at the office will make an appointment.
We'll try to put that in the notes. And then you have a website, I assume?
Do have a website, and just Monster Tree Service, and you can look up. We are a franchise, but we're the Monster of Peachtree is what they call us.
Okay.
And even though we're out of Coweta County, and you go on that website and you can type in, and we will call you.
Okay.
You can put your information in, and we will reach out to you and schedule an appointment. And I will be out there, and I'll assess your trees.
All right, super. So let's talk about this tree here. I wanted to share. So as I said, when we moved in, somebody had come in and they felt the need to build a wall here, which looks nice, and we plan on painting it one day. But in order to do that, they hacked away at the base of the tree. And as you can see here, there are still roots, and we can't get anything to grow here except for weeds. We've tried to put all sorts of ground covers here to try to get something going on. But the roots are begging for what? Why are they up above the ground at this point?
They're looking for nutrients, looking for water, looking for anything they can get. You can see how far the tree goes out over the road. And out the house, you have the driveway, you have sidewalk. That critical root mass, if you drew a line from that farthest point down and a circle around, anything from there in is critical root mass. Well, it's not able to get nutrients through this asphalt, through that concrete, or from under the house. So you have this area here and the area of the yard there and there that it's able to suck the nutrients and the water through.
Right.
So we're going to artificially give it some more.
Okay, cool.
To help boost it. With cutting this piece of root right here, you've damaged the tree, and it's kind of localized right in that area, which is good. This is starting to scab up and heal itself. It's usually not a good idea because it can really open it up to disease.
Well, then like right in there.
Right, exactly. It gets a little spongy, but this is coming back over and healing it, and it does have some metal in it in places, and that's not uncommon for yard trees to have.
Is that bad for the tree, or?
It's not necessarily bad for the tree. It's really fun when we cut them down and find that stuff
oh no, with
buried
your
in
saw,
the center.
yeah.
It ruins some stuff really quick. But trees can adapt and take a lot.
Sure.
And it's pretty neat. So hopefully this one will take this treatment well. We're going to do it now. I would like to do it again in the spring when it starts greening up, so it gives it that boost throughout the summer when it is stressed. We like to do that every 6 month kind of treatment, fall and spring.
Yeah, well, you know, the one thing you don't want to do, especially in a yard like this, is lose the one tree.
Exactly.
I mean,
really,
because then you come back in with
pretty.
a fast-growing tree that's never going to be healthy, and that's what most people do, isn't it? They bring in those Bradford pears and things like that, which are beautiful
you
trees.
can't do those anymore.
But, you're not even allowed to plant them,
Not even allowed to plant those anymore. But yeah, no, an old tree like this, I mean, it's what, 50 something years old.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to plant one and see it this size again.
Not me neither.
You know, so yeah, if we can take care of these, and especially, you know, a lot of these very, very large trees that we have in the back, you know, some of them are close to Civil War age trees.
Yeah.
And older, and you'll just never be able to see those again.
Right.
And so it was really a bad thing when that tornado came through and took out
so
many
of those. I forgot about
those
mentioning
aged trees. So I really have a soft spot in downtown for a bigger tree, especially an oak.
All right, so real quickly, what was in the mixture that you put in there?
It's a kelp-based nutrient pack. So it's got kelp, it's got yucca, it's got different bacteria that are good, healthy, and help that tree create photosynthesis and recover. So that's just a really good arboricultural fertilizer.
Yeah, I noticed a couple of times, especially down here, when you were able to get really far in there, you really let it sit there a while. You gave it a good dose. So once again, my friend James Whitlock with Monster Tree Service, he's here to help you with your trees. And the website again is?
Ymonster.com.
Ymonster.com. So this is the perfect time, and James has done great work at our property, and he's actually a member of my networking group. A lot of folks who in our networking group are happy with his work too. So I know that he can take care of you, so make sure you give them a call or look them up online at ymonster.com. James, thanks so much for coming out and being a part of this today.
Pleasure.
And thanks for being my friend. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I enjoy that part too.
This is Glenn with Dry Cleaning Connection, and Connections, our video series. Thanks for watching. See you real soon. Bye now.